All right there, everyone. Great to be back with you. We are once again with our good friend Bob Kudla of Trade Genius Academy. If you're not familiar with Bob, you ought to be. He is the founder and president of Trade Genius Academy, which he started back in 2015 after 25 years as an executive for two Fortune 500 companies in the financial services industry. And over the past 5 years, Bob has amassed a 65% overall win record in the market. And so in our past conversations, we've had several of them. I know I've gotten some great feedback from you guys who really appreciate Bob. He's helped us make some financial sense of the coronavirus pandemic, the riots, a post-riot economy, and the like. And so today I think we're going to get a sense of what Bob sees going on into November. So Bob, welcome back. Great to have you here with us.
Thanks, Dr. Steve. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. All right, so we've got our two conventions, and Biden does seem to be basically melting. Remember, he's only about 20 minutes away from me here, so every time he comes out of his basement, his advisors seem to rush him in just as quickly back into this basement. Now, in the past interviews we've had, you predicted that the race would tighten up and that things would eventually pull for Trump. So how do you see things folding out here?
Yeah, so I still feel the same way, and you could tell because the Biden had to start coming out here to try to start swinging at Trump. But you know, it's interesting. They're not offering anything positive in terms of messaging. Everything is, Trump bad for pandemic, kill people. Trump bad for black people, racist. Trump bad. And that's all you hear. And he has no positive message. In fact, the message he has is probably pretty scary for most people. I'm going to relock you down. I'm going to give all your money away and give it to the people who've been rioting. And oh, by the way, I'm going to tax everyone and everything so that I can go ahead and give it away from people that I'm going to let it get across the border for free. And if you live in the suburb, we're going to allow urban development in the suburbs. And I'm going to fight really hard to have the police not have the resources they need, even though most of the people, including in the urban neighborhoods, want more cops. They just want better trained police, and the cops are in a bad situation here because they're basically policing bad politics. And so they're the ones that have to be the bad guys because the politicians don't want to address the root cause issues in these communities. And it's not racism, it's economic, and so it's spiritual probably as well. And so I think most people have made up their minds at this point. I heard there's like a 3% uncertainty factor. And the other thing that I've been reading is that basically 65% of the people that are pulling for Trump will lie to a pollster because they don't want to be canceled, they don't want to be called out, they don't want to be harangued by their neighbors or harangued by the mob. And so I think there's probably a hidden 5 to 10 point swing in there for Trump that you can't see. And so I still feel the same way. I think the states that we're going to have to watch closely are going to probably be like Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, because the Democrats control the governorship there and the games that they can play with voting. And so where the Republicans are in charge of those states, they're going to ensure that the whole process is locked down. So Trump's going to have to address that. And so I still feel that way. Now, having said all that, it's still amazingly to me, publicly a close election. So people are going to start getting nervous, and you're starting to see it in the stock market. Once everybody got back from summer, the market's been swinging now, I wouldn't say violently, but it's swinging like it hasn't swung since the swoon we had about the pandemic in February, March. And I think that's going to continue probably through the third week of October, which is an expiration contract for the options markets. And we're probably going to drift down from where we were at 3,500. We're probably going to touch 3,000. So it's going to be hard to make money in this environment, unless you you're willing to take some heat on some trades, or just not trade, or just be smart about 2021, just because they're just going to unleash a lot of money.
Have we seen that before? Have we seen pre-election uncertainties spooking the market like this?
Yeah, 2016 is following the same script. So we didn't have the dump like we had, but that's really the virus related, shutdown related stuff. But yeah, we had the pre-election jitters, and then 3 weeks before the election, everything started to settle. And then we had that weird night when everybody thought Trump was going to lose, and Trump won, and then the market took off for the next like 12 weeks. So.
Right. Yeah. Another thing that's interesting, it's an interesting bellwether you mentioned, Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota. The very fact that it's competitive in Minnesota, which hasn't voted for a Republican since Richard Nixon, if I recall, since his reelection in 72. That's pretty astonishing. Even Massachusetts has repented a couple of times and went red since then. So that's pretty astonishing. Another one is that it looks like Biden has conceded Ohio and Iowa. They don't seem to be spending any money there. The polls are pretty decisively in Trump's favor there. And the old saying is who wins Ohio wins the election. So those are some interesting bellwethers, whether they're decisive or not. Here's a different story.
Yeah, I agree. And New Hampshire's in play too. So
yeah.
Minnesota is interesting because they the reason why they've always done Democrat, they're kind of like Pennsylvania, Michigan Democrats, but a little bit more, dyed in the wool. The DFL there has been very, very strong in Minnesota. But look, we've had basically an insurrection against the Democratic Party in Minnesota, where basically anything north of Minneapolis is now Trump country.
Right.
Trump's changed the Republican Party. It's no longer considered the party of the rich and the elite. The Democrats have actually occupying that mantle, believe it or not, and the Republicans are now backed into the party of the working class. Some Republican senators probably haven't gotten the message yet, but they will.
They will, right? They give it enough time. Yeah, that was the most astonishing defection in 2016, the white working class in counties that have voted Democrat in every election since the 1980s, presidential elections, suddenly swung over and defected and voted for Trump. Do you think it has anything to do with the riots as well, that Minnesota's in play with, Minneapolis being the mecca of where it all started?
Yeah, I think the riots are giving people an excuse to switch parties. Minnesota is such that, the farmers and the manufacturers in the north are saying that, Trump has given voice to their complaints, because they're temp lumberers, they're miners up there, they're manufacturers, and he's given them their future back.
Right.
And I think in the urban areas, anybody that's not a diehard progressive is probably scared out of their minds, because these people continue to walk in the malls and just harass people. They continue to walk down the street and beat people up, and that's not happening in cities and states that Trump-like people are in control. So people aren't stupid. They're just going to do the obvious connect the dot. Biden gets in, he's not going to stop these people. In fact, he's going to use those people as a political cudgel to gain acceptance for what he was trying to accomplish. Yeah, so I think it's huge. I live in Southern California, and my area where I live is fairly, I don't want to call it, well, around me is very wealthy, but where I live is probably, I would call very comfortable. And it's really 50-50 here between Republicans and Democrats, but you don't see any signs for either party. So I just find it interesting. I think there's kind of like this quiet detente that's saying, I won't put my sign up if you won't put your sign up.
Yeah.
I think people really know. But California is kind of a unique situation because we're not a heavily our minority community is mostly Hispanic. And if you notice, Democrats have not said a single word about supporting issues for the Hispanic community because those are Trump's issues. Family, work hard,
Yeah.
and peace in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
They don't want unfettered immigration into their neighborhoods because that takes down the price of their homes. They have to compete with them for their medical. Their jobs now get diluted. These people aren't stupid. And I asked a lot of Hispanic-owned businesses where I live. They're adopting the American dream, and I just said, hey, what's your view on all this? They said, we're too busy, Bob, working.
Right. Right.
And I said, okay, well, welcome to the American dream.
There you go.
Yeah, and I feel bad for the African American community because I think they're being played, and demographically in the next election, the Hispanic community is going to take a bigger and bigger impact, and I just fear for these people. I hope they all defect to the Republican Party, where we can actually do things for them.
Yeah, especially the allure with social conservatism, because they're such a socially conservative demographic. We're seeing that surge in Florida right now with Trump and Latinos. It's pretty impressive.
And I think there's a silent surge in the African American community too, where I think he's getting double the polling now, where people are like, hey, I don't want to die in the street either,
Right. Well, you said it yourself in terms of African Americans are overwhelmingly in support of the police. They want the budget either the same or increased for police officers. Their concern is there's not enough of them.
Yeah, and we just have to kind of figure out how we dial down the drama, and take it around. Some of it's induced drama, but some of it's probably real, and so we just need to probably just hold arms together and solve it.
Right.
But I think that's what I'm thinking. Peace and safety. Trump. There's a thing you're probably familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Right after you're basically hungry, the next one is I want to be safe.
Right.
And the Democrats are talking about self-actualization kind of stuff, and people are like, "Hey, my city's burning down."
Right.
Has correctly identified that's the area where people are. I want a job. I want safety. I don't want drama. I love my country. I don't want my country to be overrun by every other person in the world. I don't want to pay for things that other people are going to get for free. Just be sure they're showing up. I mean, why that is not a common sense platform is beyond me, and how the other party can just openly flaunt it. Hopefully, get elected in November.
Right. You mentioned, so you were on the forefront of the whole notion of the sort of the demographic realignment of the country as urban populations begin a mass exodus out of the cities, which we've seen. You were absolutely right on that over the last several months. New York is losing record numbers of residents. LA, I saw condo vacancies are up 40% in downtown LA. San Francisco, forget about it. So many people are leaving the urban areas and are fleeing to exurbs. Do you have any sense as to whether or not they're bringing their blue politics with them? I get a sense that up until this point, that may have been the case, to the extent that people left urban life for exurban life. They left because of the taxes and the standard of living, but they still like their bougie kind of, gentry liberal politics. But it seems to me, and I haven't found any hard data on this, it seems to me, though, especially with the spike in gun sales, that they're actually voting defensively now. They don't want the urban rot that they left to come anywhere near them in their new exurban life. Do you have any insight into that?
Yeah, I mean, only anecdotally like you do, because we have to get to an election to kind of see the polling data, but I think we have different people now leaving. So, in California, people left California, they went to Oregon, they went to Washington. And then they went to Colorado and they went to Arizona, and they started to dilute that red environment because those are people that were wealthy and basically wanted to cash out. The people that are leaving now are leaving because they don't want to have any part of what's coming.
Right.
And I think those people are probably going to vote red. And in the East Coast, Florida looks like it's now trending more red than in past years, where I think they thought they would overwhelm it, with people coming in from basically New York and Illinois and basically trying to flip that state blue. But it doesn't seem to be the case. And so maybe people are going to get their heads turned around here on this. But Texas is decidedly red. A lot of people moving in from California and New York into Texas don't seem to be affecting them that at all.
Right.
So, I think, what's interesting to me is, Colorado is a big disappointment that they basically flooded the zone there in that Front Range and flipped that area, blue, but, can't get everything you want. Arizona is interesting to me that it became pink, but I think Arizona is gonna stay red.
Yeah.
Nevada would be red, and maybe red now because nobody has a job anymore. They shut down the casinos. It's a ghost town. There, maybe people realize, here, you want to vote Democratic governor? Here you go, no job.
There you go.
That's the lucky. But yeah, I don't know, but that's not ending. I have neighbors here that work for big companies that are remote, and that usually have to commute down to San Diego or LA to jobs. And everybody's being told you can stay home. You can work from home. We like it. It's working. Instead of coming in every day, you come in once every 2 weeks. We have team meetings, stuff like that. But companies are realizing now that people are more productive. They're not bothering each other incidentally at work. And then we can start reducing our commercial real estate footprint.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the big thing, I think. It's going to really hurt the banks going forward.
And then COVID seems to be flattening out. How's that factoring into your economic forecasts there?
Yeah, look, as you unwind this pandemic, California yesterday opened the gyms back. Went out to a restaurant last night, and 25% indoor seating is available again. There was no parking anywhere. This is a Wednesday night, and the restaurants were full. For Wednesday night, it's usually one of the weakest nights of the week, but people were out and about. All the restaurants were full, and pretty much everywhere we go, anything that I'm buying, I have to wait on. We get into appliances, 6 weeks. I need to get my truck repainted. Took 2 extra weeks. We're going to get some work done on the house. Forget about it till next year.
Mm-hmm.
So people are busy out here at least, and I imagine as the lockdowns end, you're gonna see that across the board. And I think there's a lot of pent up desire for normalcy, and I think that's gonna push us forward. And then Trump and the Fed are just gonna grease it.
Right. You have a really interesting testimonial I came across where one of your clients recently saved $40,000 on the market. Can you give us a little bit of a backstory on that?
Yeah, so basically this move we had from June to August was kind of artificial in the sense that it was being manipulated by some big players to drive the price of the market up. And we call it the Eiffel Tower effect. Once that's started to abate, usually it'll retrace that whole move. And so I was warning people that, hey, look, we're going to get a sell-off going into this election. Unless you're really, really married or this is a core position for you, you should probably take heed and reduce your exposure. And this is somebody that was listening to me, like talking to you, wasn't even a client yet, and decided to reduce their exposure, and then sent me that note. I was unsolicited and said, hey, I paid for 100 years of your service. And so, you make money by trading. Sometimes you make money by not trading.
Yeah, it's neat. Yeah.
We've seen it now too. The last couple of weeks it's harder and harder to make money on trades because the market wants to fell into your positions. So we have to kind of let this settle out, and probably we're going to get a 10% move from here yet, and then I think we'll be in position for an end of the year rally. So that's what that was in reference to. And now that person has $40,000 of dry powder to look for undervalued assets going into next year. And there are some undervalued assets out there. There's a lot of very overvalued assets, like in the tech space, but the commodity space is well undervalued right now, especially silver, platinum, uranium. Those miners are going to get significantly higher valuation going forward as the Fed keeps printing, and as the restocking in the nuclear power plants get going, and as we get more and more, we go more and more of the electric, I call the electric economy. You're going to see, look, I see electric bikes everywhere now. They're like thick as flies now. And all these are taking magnets that require special metals, and all those metals are going to be needed to be mined, and the prices of those are going to go up. And so that's kind of where we see the value. Once we get past some of this, I'm going to sell everything because I'm nervous about the election.
I have another testimonial here of a novice in trading, and he used the Trade Genius ribbon as signals to net $209.75 on VXX, and the day's not yet over. I'm 5 out of 6 so far. Give us a little bit of the bio on that one.
Yeah, so VXX is one of the trades you can take in an environment where the market is getting softer. It's basically looking at what's called market volatility. And this person has the ability to day trade. And so we have the ribbon system, which we talked about before. It's basically our algorithm that people have access to. So, I'm not the guru that just sitting here calling out trades all day. We're going to teach you how to use the system so you can trade other things and trade them on the time frame that's suitable for you. So he noticed that this particular ETF called VXX was making higher lows, so he decided to just basically buy the dips as the buy signals were coming in. He eventually that day made over $400. So put it in perspective, if you get to a point where you can make that kind of money, that's $100,000 a year kind of environment. I'm not suggesting people can just automatically do that, but you can just slowly start to make that kind of money, $100 here, $100 there, and eventually you build your portfolio up, because the ribbon is looking for those opportunities, and you just set alerts for him. And he was trading that on his own. He just told me at the end of the day, hey, Bob, this is what I did. This was great. I just want you to know that ribbons work, and I appreciate it. And to me, that's the best way, because I obviously can't custom design everybody's portfolio for them, but I certainly can teach them how to fish.
There you go. Yeah, give them those principles. So give our viewers just a quick sense of what they can expect if they were to sign up with Trade Genius today.
Yeah, so it depends on what you want to trade and how experienced you are. We have bundles set up. You can trade the stock market, you can trade cryptocurrencies, you can trade in the binary option market or in futures. And so we have bundles that address each one of those. We pre-discounted those 65% off if you take advantage of it by the 12th of September. And what you get from those bundles is all of them, you get the ribbon system, you get the classes to learn how to trade the system, you get access to the chat room where you can ask me questions all day long, and then you get access to some of the trades that we're doing as well that we will push out to you via Telegram. And so that's what everybody gets. And then if you want a little bit more, there's personal coaching you can do, or you can join the room called the VIP room, but it's really more a room for people that want to have live access to me, like you and I are talking, and then also to take on some more unique trades or to day trade. And then finally, people can get personal coaching as well. So just go to tradelikeagenius.com, select what works best for you, and you can call us, you can email us, you can chat with us, and we'll hook you up. And what we charge for the service is really nothing compared to what you can get out of it. So thanks for letting me share
Yeah, that's wonderful. So September 12th, you said that's the deadline for the 60% discount?
that. Yeah, 65% pre-discounted already. So you don't have to do anything but select it. But if you're just interested in something individual in the store, you can just use the promo code SCHOOL and you get 40% off the retail price of any of those items. And so just go to tradeluggagegenius.com and we'll take care of you.
And we'll have a link below the video here as well, and both underneath and in the pinned comments section. Excellent, Bob. Always very enlightening. Very much appreciate what you do, your services for us. Thank you so much for being here again.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Steve. Thanks for having me.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.